Imagine standing on a battlefield, the ground trembling beneath your feet as a towering giant approaches. His armor glistens in the sun, his voice thunders across the valley, and the air is thick with fear. These giants were not just warriors of unusual size, they were the remnants of an ancient terror. But where did they come from? Who gave birth to these monstrous beings that defied the armies of Israel? Welcome to the Bible Stories with Gian channel. Today we uncover the chilling story of Orpah and Haraa, the two mothers of giants who left a legacy of destruction in the days of David. Their children would grow to become the greatest threats to God's people, but their story begins long before the battlefield. In the Bible, we often hear about the mighty warriors and kings, but behind every great story, there are hidden figures who shape history in ways we rarely notice. Orpah was one of them. Orpah was the sister-in-law of Ruth, both of them widows in the land of Moab. When Naomi, their mother-in-law, decided to return to Israel, she urged both women to stay in Moab and rebuild their lives. Ruth, with a heart full of faith, clung to Naomi and followed her to Bethlehem, uttering the famous words, "Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." Ruth 1:16. But Orpah hesitated. She had seen the power of Israel's God, but the pull of her past was too strong. With one simple step, she turned back to Moab, and that decision would change everything. Ancient Jewish traditions, including the Midrash and Talmud, suggest that Orpah's choice led her down a dark path. Some say she was taken by Philistine warriors. Others say she gave herself to demonic beings. Either way, the result was the same. She became the mother of giants. Not just any giants, but the very ones who would rise against Israel's greatest king, David. Meanwhile, another woman, Haraa, was also believed to be connected to the race of giants. Unlike Orpah, who turned away from righteousness, Haraa embraced darkness from the very beginning. Some say she mingled with the last remnants of the Rephaim, an ancient race of giants wiped out during the days of Moses and Joshua. Others believe she called upon dark forces to conceive her monstrous offspring. The Bible tells us about one of Orpah's most infamous sons, Goliath of Gath. He was no ordinary warrior, standing over 9 feet tall, clad in heavy bronze armor, and wielding a spear like a weaver's beam. He was a nightmare to Israel. For 40 days he taunted God's people, daring anyone to face him in battle. "Give me a man to fight," he roared, his voice shaking the battlefield. 1 Samuel 17:10. No one dared to face him. The mighty soldiers of Israel trembled, even King Saul himself. But then, a young shepherd stepped forward. David, armed with nothing but a sling and 5 smooth stones, looked at the giant and declared, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." 1 Samuel 17:45. With one perfect shot, David's stone struck Goliath in the forehead. The mighty giant fell to the ground, and in that moment the power of faith overcame the terror of the enemy. But Goliath was not alone. The Bible records that he had 3 brothers, Ishbi-Benob, Saph, Lami, and a 4th giant, with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. Each of them would later rise against David and his warriors. The Midrash suggests that Orpah's rejection of Naomi and God led to a curse. Her offspring would terrorize Israel. But just as David slew Goliath, his mighty men, Abishai, Sibbecai, Elhanan, and Jonathan, rose to defeat the rest of the giants one by one. Meanwhile, Haraa's giants were also waging war against Israel. These were some of the last remaining Nephilim bloodlines, ancient creatures from the pre-flood era, hidden in the lands of the Philistines. They carried the remnants of a dark past, a rebellion that began in heaven itself. The final battles against these giants are recorded in 2 Samuel 21:15-22. The war was brutal, and even David, now an aging king, nearly fell in battle against one of Orpah's sons. But his warrior, Abishai, came to his aid and struck the giant down. One by one, the last of the giants met their fate. The bloodline of Orpah was wiped out. The offspring of Haraa were no more. And with their fall, the age of giants ended. But their story serves as a warning. Orpah and Haraa represent two different paths, one of faith and one of rebellion. Ruth chose to follow God, and she became the great-grandmother of King David. Orpah turned away, and her descendants became Israel's greatest enemies. What path do we choose? The story of Orpah and Haraa is more than just a tale of giants. It is a reminder that our choices shape the future. One step in faith can lead to great blessings, while one step away can lead to destruction. Just like David stood against Goliath with faith, we too face giants in our lives: fear, doubt, sin, and temptation. But with God, no giant is too big to fall. If you've ever felt like you're facing an impossible battle, remember this: God has already given you the victory. If this message inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful Bible stories. Stay strong in faith, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. God bless you all.